Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. That was an easy moment to get caught up in. That was really special. I would like to welcome everybody here this morning to the celebration of life for Margaret E. Virgin, known to many as Peg, but I think a lot of us here in church simply Gigi. I mean, she just fit the name, and affectionately we knew her as Gigi. On behalf of the family, Dan, who I met at the I met you before, but I was at the coffee shop this morning, and they're spending some time there, and then all of a sudden someone walked in, and they were saying, why were you, the person selling the coffee said, why are you walking this time of the day? It was cold. He said, I'm from Alaska. And I was like, oh, yeah, I recognize him. So on behalf of Dan and Joe, your wives, and Sandy, Tim, the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, the great-greats, the extended family, welcome and thank you for being here. Like I said, my name is Nate Smoker, and I have the privilege of serving as pastor here, the congregation that Gigi called her home in her years here in Lancaster. And we were super, super grateful to have her a part of the congregation. Let's say a word of prayer. Lord Jesus, we thank you most of all for who you are. We thank you for your love for us, for the hope that we have in you. We thank you for the comfort that you bring in times like this. And even in the Christmas season, we remember that your name is called the Prince of Peace, and that you comfort us, and that you send your Spirit to be a comforter to us. And so we thank you and ask that you would be here with us to bring hope and peace and comfort and a undergirding joy to the family in this time. We ask that your Spirit would be here in this service to do the work that only you can do. We want to somehow remember Gigi for the lady that she was and for the woman of God that she was in her time here, and that she is still, Lord. Even though she's not here with us, she is still everything she was that she was here and so much more, and we want to remember that. And so be here with us and be glorified to let your name be exalted in this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Joshua and Anita are going to lead a song, and then after that, Mr. Ted Hargrove will come up and share a few thoughts. Stand up and join us as we sing.
Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I worship your holy name. In love, and you're slow to anger. Your name is is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name.
And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing your praise unending.
10,000 years and then forevermore. Forevermore. So bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. Sing that one more time. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship your holy name. Yes, I will worship your holy name. I will worship your holy name.
Amen. You may be seated. Mr. Ted, come on up.
Good morning. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to meet you. And there's so much family here, which really is a tribute to what Peggy grew up with. Her spiritual journey started with a family at Fallcroft Avenue, and another family about a block away in Garfield Avenue. His sister, Uncle Huey's sister, was my mother. I'm Uncle Ted. And I knew Peggy. She was born in 1932. I was born in 37. So for 15 years, she went through her teen years and went to nursing school. She was part of our extended family. And on Thanksgiving, the family gathered. Christmas, the family gathered. And one thing I was going to mention later, but I'll just do it now because I only have 3 minutes, and she doesn't realize that you never give a minister just 3 minutes. But we would go over after the Second World War. Uncle Huey had the only television set. And sometimes we'd go and we'd see the Sullivan Show, the Milton Berle, Howdy Doody would come on. And for many of you may not even know what that means, but there was family always interacting with each other. And then when you go over to the church, the Fallcroft Union Church, it was another part of an extended family. The thing that I observed as I was thinking about saying a couple words is Peggy's faith journey began in her family, but then was matured at the firehouse of Fallcroft, Pennsylvania. Because the firehouse was chosen for the elementary school children that were in the school, because they wouldn't fit in the basement of the church. The young adults and the teenagers were at the church, and the young children from 3 on were in the firehouse. And that's where Peggy began her faith journey, where she learned about the biblical message. She learned and met Jesus because people loved her there, and there was music and so forth. I had a little prejudice about that because I went through the same thing 5 years after she had gone through the same thing, and my mother happened to be the superintendent of the Sunday school at that given time. So she was happy there, and she grew, and her faith grew. But when I read your book, your bio of Aunt Peg, you made a comment or two about that she had a firm handshake, that she was very firm in her thoughts, and if she had an idea, it was her idea, and you best for maybe kind of agree with that idea. Well, I had an event happen, and I told Sandy about. Subsequent to my learning of her coming, there was all kind of like little mental pictures of seeing Peggy and doing different things. The one is Uncle Huey lived about a block away from us, had a big backyard, and in the back of that backyard, he had a cherry tree, an odd-looking cherry. And I was fascinated by it. And I would go sneak and try to climb that tree. And I always, if I saw somebody up by the house, I wouldn't do it. But this one day, I climbed the tree. And I'm up as high as I could get, and I'm just enjoying the view of, the side of the garage, some things growing. Nothing special there like around here with all the beautiful countryside you have. But then I heard a slam of the back door. It went bang. Teddy, what are you doing up in that tree? It was General Peg.
That's right.
She came down there. She's about 15. I'm about 10 or 11. And she came down and said, "Get out of that tree." And I said, "I don't want to." "Get out of that tree." She knew she was right, and she was insisting that I get out of that tree. She's only 15, 16 years old, but she already had that characteristic. I know what's right. You get out of that tree. And then she hit me. She said, she didn't say, "God's going to get you if you do that." But she came close. She said, "I'm going to tell your father you're up in that tree." Well, I came down from the tree, and I was startled by how firm she was, almost angry. But then something happened. She stopped. She said, "Teddy, come here." She put her arm around my shoulders and said, "I just wanted you to be safe. I won't tell your father you were up in the tree." And she was the calm person, the loving person, and she was tender after having been kind of upset with what I had done. We'd go over there, and one time I remember 1946. I did a little homework, but Babe Ruth died. I go in there, and the television's on, and Peggy says to me, "Do you know Babe Ruth?" Well, I'm about 10 years old. I knew of that name. So she started telling me all about Babe Ruth and how he had passed away, and he had all these home runs, and it just showed her interest in sports. She had intense interest in sports, which led me to be startled when a couple of years later, I went into the University of Penn nursing school, and Peggy was playing basketball. How many of you knew that your Aunt Peggy played basketball? Oh, you may all know it. But back then, basketball was not the same as it is now. The women, because the men of that days thought they were too fragile, would only have 3 ladies on one side of the court and 3 on the other, the offense and the defense. And Peggy was on the defense. And that intensity that I was telling you about earlier, was she quick, intense? The look on her face was, we're going to succeed with this. And I don't even know whether they won the game or not. But my mental image is her running around on that defensive court, going after the ball, getting it, giving it to their forward so that they would score some points. But she had a real deep spirit. After the game, she was laughing and pleasant and gentle. But during the game, don't mess around with Peg Fisher in the defense. When I was, I guess it was 48, when my grandmother died, Aunt Mrs. McVicker, died. She lived with Peggy for years before she passed away. And my grandma was very tender to me. And so I was about 10 when this happened. They laid her out at the funeral, and her casket was opened. I had never been to a funeral before. I never saw somebody who I loved die before, and I just didn't feel like I should go forward. I didn't know what to do if I did. My sister, Betty, Elizabeth Ann, we called her Betty sometimes, was a close friend of Peggy, very close friends. They were like two sides of the same coin frequently. And they saw my sitting there and saw my restlessness and being uncomfortable. So they called me up and they took me forward. And she said, just stand there a while by Grandma. She's not here, she's with the Lord, but just remember how much you love her. And she said, just touch her on the hand. So I touched her on the hand. And there was Peggy and my sister side by side with me, giving me comfort and a surety of what faith would ultimately mean to me in a different way. But when my grandmother had died. There was another story I wanted to tell you. Anyway, we loved her, and she taught us so much. Oh, I know. My sister and her were very tight. And one day, that's a Sunday night service, I went in there, and the pastor got up and said, we're going to have special music tonight, a little different. Yeah, we have a new trio that's formed. Jean Gurney, at the time, Jean, Peggy, and Betty are going to sing for us tonight. And they sang, I don't know what song they sang. Maybe it was Blessed Assurance that we're going to sing here today. I don't know. But they sang together. And here I'm looking there as a 10, 12-year-old person saying, boy, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. That's my sister, and that's my aunts. And I can remember very clearly that the faith that she had as a child, the faith that grew up, and the faith that led her to Alaska was bound up in the music and her spirit. And she was firm, but she loved all of you so intensely. And I appreciated that memories of her love for us as a family. And then as I got older, she met a few of my children. She met Joanne when Joanne came into my life, and she loved us even though we were far away from her at that time. And by the way, if Joe hadn't come along, some of you may not exist because he went to Alaska with Peggy. Final thing I'll mention is simply that I don't remember the time of the year. I had finished my first year at King's College, and I was out in front of Uncle Huey's house, and there was Peggy and Joe packing up the car to make the trip to Alaska. Behind it, they had a trailer, all filled. The car was packed to the gills, and they were standing, and somebody came together, and they all said a prayer together, and it was very still. And there were some eyes that were a little glassy. They were very proud of Peg and Joe. They were very proud that she had made this commitment to God to be the missionary she was to Alaska. And God used her tremendously. But it's still, they were leaving. And it was going to be years before their parents would see them again. And then suddenly the time came, and someone, I don't even remember who it was, said the prayer. And Peggy got in the car, and Joe. They did a U-turn on Fallcroft Avenue and proceeded toward Chester Pike. And they were gone. But their spirit lived, and their spirit is here today. And God is at work in this church and in the lives of all of you from Alaska, from Lancaster County. God is with you, and so is the spirit and inspiration of Peggy. God bless you all. Amen.
Thank you, Ted, for sharing those stories. Those are precious stories of our grandma and Gigi
This song, Blessed Assurance, you guys know that Grandma loved to sing and play. This song became very meaningful, especially in the last couple weeks before she passed. So I invite you guys as we stand and sing to just think about the blessed assurance that we have in Jesus. Better play in the right key. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine, heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of His Spirit, washed in His blood. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, perfect delight, visions of rapture now burst in my sight. Angels descending bring from above echoes of mercy, whispers of love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I in my Savior am happy and blessed, watching and waiting, looking above, filled with His goodness, lost in His love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Sing that again. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This song, I get to throw in there. My mom said if I had a moment to share something, I was going to share. I just feel like Grandma was such an example of faithfulness. If I could maybe pick one word, I would say it's just she was very faithful. She talked a lot about praying for us kids and our kids' kids and so on. It was just fun to sing this song towards the end of her time here on the earth. Hopefully she sang it proudly that this is her story, because I think it was. Very much so. She was very faithful. And it's just something I always think about her and her faithfulness. And I think it's a challenge in my own life to live faithfully like she did. So that's my little story there. Now over to you, Nate. You guys can have your seats.
Be seated. And we will welcome up Ms. Millie Ressler at this time. And then after that, we'll have the obituary by Mr. Jim Gurney.
I'll let him hold the mic so I don't get distracted. Yeah, that's a great lead on the faithfulness, because that's what I think about too. But we went to Alaska in 1969, and Peg and Joe were the first people that we met, and because he was the field director. And Peg, as usual, can you imagine, she took us in and gave us dinner and helped us, get oriented, and Joe showed us around. And I think when we saw the little 1.5 room cabin we were going to live in, I think it's one you lived in at some time. I think the kids stayed in the closet. Dresser drawer. Yeah, the dresser drawer or something. Anyway, Peg was my mentor long before I knew the word mentor. I mean, back in those days, you didn't talk about mentor, but she was. And she oriented me to Faith Hospital. And back then, you didn't just nurse, you did everything. And I was thinking about different things that she taught me. We had to do x-rays, and it was the old-fashioned way, you dipped the x-rays in the water and hung them up. And I always remembered everything she taught, and for years later, I think, now Peg told me this way, and that's how I did it, And we had to count pills and do the pharmacy and the autoclave, and of course we took care of patients too. But one of her favorite things was the operating room. She loved to scrub in for surgery, and we never did C-sections until Peg got there. I don't remember doing C-sections without her, and we'd scrub in together. Later, when she lived out at Nelchina, we used to tease her that she flew low to get in there. I won't tell you how quick she made it. But we were always glad to see her come in and scrub in and be ready. She also taught not just the mechanics of nursing, but people were the most important. And because we were in a large area, not population-wise, but a large area, we get to know everybody. And everybody knew Peg, and Peg knew everybody. And so I learned how to relate to the natives and different people in Alaska. Then when they moved to Chistachina, we were involved up there too, so we worked together. And it was just amazing. She is quite a planner and organizer. I still remember some of those women's luncheons we had. It would be like 75 to 100 people from the valley that would come, and everything would be perfect, had to be. But it was wonderful. And then to see her play the piano, she played up there and played for the music and the singing. There's just so many memories, and the Bible studies. And then later, in later life, when I would still be working at the clinic, she would come in as a patient, and we would talk, and she'd keep me updated on all the family and all the grandkids. I miss that. And who's who and all the things she's praying for. And the doctor would finally come in and say, am I going to get to see her, or are you going to? Because we would be busy catching up. I could just share lots and lots of stories, but one of the verses that means a lot and just summarizes who she was is from 1 Thessalonians 1:3. We continually remember before our God and Father your work produced by faith, your labor prompted by love, and your endurance inspired by hope in our Lord Jesus Christ. She had the faith, love, and hope. And we saw her just a week before she passed, and her hope was to be with the Lord Jesus Christ. yes, she didn't want to leave her family and grandkids and great-grandkids, but she was ready to meet the Lord Jesus. What a great memory you all have as family and friends.
I'm Jim Gurney, Jimmy, and Aunt Peg was, well, my aunt. And it is my honor to just share her story, some details that many of you know, and there's some parts that you may not know. You may even learn some towns, some cities that you've never heard of before, like I did. Longtime resident of Alaska, Margaret Peg Elizabeth McVicker Virgin, 93, passed away peacefully on November 26, 2025, surrounded by family at her daughter's home in Leola, Pennsylvania, where she had been living since 2019. Peg was born in Fallcroft, PA on June 18, 1932. She received her nursing education from Presbyterian Hospital in Philadelphia, PA, married her high school sweetheart, Joe Virgin, on July 16, 1955, and with their desire to serve Jesus by serving others, they left for Alaska in July of 1956. As missionaries with the Central Alaskan Missions from 1956 to 1977, they served the communities of Gulkana, Elamar, Tetitlik, which, again, that's a new one for me. Love it. Kenny Lake, and Chistachina. They were an active part of Mendeltna Community Chapel after moving to Nelchina in 1977. Peg's heart was for her family. She was a beautiful example of Jesus' heart for the lost. She served as a nurse at Crossroads Medical Center, formerly known as Faith Hospital, as well as being on call for medical emergencies within the communities. She loved the Word of God and was an amazing teacher, using her gifts to teach Sunday school, vacation Bible school, touching the community through her ladies' Bible studies she led and was part of. Peg was a competitor and an avid sports fan of anything Philadelphia. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Wow, didn't quite expect that. Well, I guess I should have expected. We're close to Philly. But even more than that, any sports her children or grandchildren were involved in. She was known for her firm handshake, and she modeled hospitality with her open door to anyone in need with a cup of coffee and whatever she had in the cupboard. I remember that, like hunters would park out front and come in and get a cup of coffee, probably something she baked. Seems like she always had something that she had baked, cookies, something going on, just so open. She had an amazing gift of administration, lovingly called the General or Sergeant Virgin by some family members and colleagues at work. And Ted, I so appreciated you with that. You spot on. You had it. The finger, the pursed lips. Oh man, that intense gaze, right? She was going to get things done. Most of all, Peg will be remembered by her heart for her family and friends to come to know and love her Jesus. Peg is survived by her two sons, Dan with Beth and Palmer, Joey with Terry of Glen Allen, and daughter Sandy with Tim Lapp of Leola, Pennsylvania. 12 grandchildren, 28 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. She is preceded in death by her husband, Joe, her parents, Hugh and Jean McVicker, sister Jean Gordon Gurney, and great-granddaughter Hazel. We so valued and appreciated her entire team at hospice, and especially the love and care of her nurse, Judy Ashley. You know, Aunt Peg, Uncle Joe, for me, was a second home. Whether it was birthday parties for as long as I can remember. And we would make that hour trek. All my buddies would pile in the back of the truck, highly illegal today, but we'd all pile in the back of the truck and make the trek out to 140 Mile. And then we'd run around on that huge lawn playing smear the guy with the ball. And then we would come in and cake and ice cream and whatever, but I don't always remember the details, but I remember the feeling that I was home. Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we're always at Aunt Peg and Uncle Joe's. Whether it was wrestling with my little cousins for hours until I was just a sweaty mess as a teenager, or whether it was seeing my mom, my aunt, and my grandma doing some cooking, but mostly laughing. The laughter, to the point of tears. Those are some of my best memories. Actually, my best memories of my grandma were in that kitchen at 140 Mile. My best memories of my aunt were in that kitchen at 140 Mile. And my mom also at 140 Mile. They used to laugh, and that is so endearing. And then my mom had passed away, and I was probably 5 years after that, I was getting married. And it was just obvious that I would ask Aunt Peg for the honor of walking her down the aisle and sitting in my mom's place. And she took that honor very seriously. She bought 5 dresses and brought all of them to Oregon with the mandate from Uncle Joe that 4 had to return. And my now mother-in-law remembers those few days going up to, of her both helping with whatever needed to be done in preparation for a wedding and having everybody's input on which dress she would wear. And that was just so precious to me. And that's who Aunt Peg was to me, so much more than just an aunt. She was my home.
I'm Jen. I would be Gigi. We call her Gigi. Gigi's granddaughter, Tim and Sandy's daughter. And I wasn't going to share anything, but I came across a poem about a week after she passed, and it just made me think of her. And it's called A Forest. And it says, a mother sows seeds for a forest she will never see. Long after she leaves, the blooms will stretch into gardens, and the trees will strengthen and grow. The ripples she made will be the whisper of a thought or memory. She leaves behind her love, her touch, her time. She leaves behind her motherhood in the warmth that shines in others, on and on, long after she is gone. Gigi was someone who truly loved and cared for people well. And she was faithful to do this through every season of her life to the best of her abilities. We would come over, and it didn't matter what she was doing, if she was journaling or reading her Bible or watching the Eagles. She would stop what she was doing, and she would make sure we had hugs. She would check in on us, make sure the kids got M&Ms from her little M&M or jelly bean stash that she had next to her chair. Every one of us in here could share a personal story about the way she cared for us. But I think one of the greatest testaments to the way that Gigi and GGP loved is their children. It was truly a privilege to watch how they cared for Gigi and how they cared for each other at the very end of her time on earth. They were and are a visual reminder of the seeds sown. And so are we. Gigi may not physically be here anymore, but she leaves a legacy of love in each one of us. We're her garden and we're her forest. So let it be a reminder to care for each other and those around us to the best of our abilities.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joel. I'm one of Gigi's grandsons, Jen's brother. I had the privilege this summer to actually get out to Alaska. Mom and Dad blessed myself, my boys, who are 14 and 12, and my 13-year-old nephew, the opportunity to go out and visit Alaska. And I was so excited to go back. Some of my fondest memories of Grandma and Grandpa are in Alaska and just those special trips out there. And while I remember it almost exactly the same, what I realized what made it Grandma and Grandpa's was Grandma and Grandpa. It was my only time ever being out there and not having Grandma and Grandpa there, and even my mom. And that hit me hard while I was out there. So while I was thankful for my boys to get to experience it, I know it wasn't the same as when they were there. On that same note of the general and sergeant, I know my grandma is a very loving and caring person. However, that was also, you didn't want to mess with her. We have this saying sometimes that we still do in our home: see my finger, see my thumb, see my fist, you better run. And Grandma used to be able to do that during a church service in Fulcroft, or when we were acting a fool and there were no words, but my siblings and I immediately stopped and got in line. Another one was, I was probably in between my son's age, they're 12 and 14. We were getting ready to go somewhere. Grandma and Grandpa were visiting, and my mom told me to go clean my room. Like a normal teenage boy, didn't want to clean my room, and Grandma came up to check on me, and she asked the question, she said, "Your mother asked you to clean up this room." And I proceeded to sarcastically, a little jokingly, and maybe a little disrespectfully say, "Why don't you clean it up?" I've never seen her move so fast before in my life. We were toe to toe. And in that moment, I was so thankful for her relationship with Jesus, because if not, I would have been through the drywall. But some of those stories, it made me think as I was praying and just thinking about what I wanted to share. It was a bark, but no bite. Not a little bite. For me as a grandchild, it was a bark and no bite. She just so badly wanted us to walk rightly and to walk in honor and respect. And so that's what I remember most about my grandma. I remember about being able to come into Mom and Dad's every Sunday night. And if you've ever visited Mom and Dad's on a Sunday night, chaotic and hectic are words that can be thrown around. But you would make it into the study where it was quiet and calm normally. Normally it was the process to go in and people would say hi to Gigi. And she had this way of just stopping your life. And without her physically taking your hands in her face, she made you feel like she had that amount of attention towards you. And she just wanted to see your heart. She wanted you to be seen, heard, feel cared for, and feel valued. The amount of times she would talk to our kids about sports, and honestly, half the time she couldn't make out what they were saying, but she listened intently because she cared so much. And so those are just some of the things I remember about Gigi.
Thank you all for being here. You know, many of us can know people. We see them when they're out and about. But when you care for someone, when they are limited physically and in pain some of the time, and are no longer able to do the things that you know they want to do, you get to know them. The place where when you're being squeezed, what really comes out of you. With Mom, it was who she was. She was a lover of Jesus, first and foremost. Faithfully in the Word every morning. Even when she couldn't see very well, she was there reading the Word. She was studying and she was learning. Even in her 90s, she was learning. She was always quick. She was a teacher. She was quick to want to share with you the new insight that the Lord gave her. She was a prayer warrior. One night, I woke up at night and I heard her crying. She was weeping. And I went over and I remember sitting on her bed. I just wrapped my arm around her and I said, "Mama, what's going on?" And she said, "There's someone that I'm praying for. And I am asking the Lord for them to come to know him." And then she looked at me and she said, "When I'm gone, I want you just to ask Jesus for Mom's list." She had a whole list. I found it. It was pages long. And you know what? It was for all of us, all of her family and all of her friends in this room, to not just come to know Jesus, but to have a vibrant relationship with him. She loved her family. She was loyal. You didn't mess with her husband or her kids or her grandkids, or you got the wrath of Mom. She was not. She loved us so, so well. She was not perfect, but she loved us with her whole heart. When hospice came on board and they said, "Mrs. Virgin, what would be your wish?" She looked and she thought for a minute. She goes, "I don't have a wish. I have a prayer." She said, "My prayer is that she would see every one of our family again in heaven someday, and that we would have that amazing, loving relationship with her Jesus." She cared, she nurtured, and she made time always. She was someone that I could share deeply with. She's the reason I came to Pennsylvania. She's the one that said, "We're going to set a fleece out before the Lord for the money for your registration to Lancaster General Hospital." And I was like, "Okay, Mom." 2 days later, in the mail, came a letter from a woman in Florida who said the Lord laid it upon her heart that there was a need for the exact amount. You know, I needed that when I moved 5,000 miles away from my family, because they're an amazing family. I needed to know that I was exactly where the Lord had me. I lost my place. Oh, she was at every sporting event. She cooked for our teams. Folks would come just to watch my mom when my two brothers wrestled. She'd start in the top bleachers and she'd be on the bottom bleachers by the end of it. And you wouldn't want to sit next to her because she'd be pushing you out of the way as she was helping them wrestle. She was the best at drawing our faces. She was the one who prayed for me when I accepted Jesus into my heart at 8 years of age. She modeled hospitality. She taught me how to bake. She was so patient with me. I wanted to earn money as a 14-year-old, so I baked pies and cinnamon rolls for the lodge. And she would come in and just, when I was so frustrated with the pie crust, she just helped me. She would make her famous tea rings for everybody up and down the road at Christmas time. She would wrap an old record with tinfoil and put these on and decorate them with maraschino cherries to make it look like poinsettias on top of the icing. She was amazing. Whomever Daddy would bring home, she would whip something up, even when it was unplanned. I don't know what conversations they had that went on behind closed doors, but she never showed us. And every holiday was an event. She made every holiday special, and she cared for all the details. Soon after she came to stay with us, I found a tea towel that said thankful, grateful, and blessed. Mom would use it every morning to lay out her breakfast on so her pills wouldn't roll away. But she would often say, I'm thankful, I'm grateful, and I'm blessed. And that's how she lived. She truly lived thankfully. She was so appreciative of our care. She was so appreciative of her family. She lived blessed. Mom was such a gift to us. And I'm so grateful to know that today, Mom has perfect vision. She's able to see, she's able to hear and understand every word. She has no more tears and no more pain. And I can see her dancing with Jesus and Daddy, holding our precious Hazel on streets of gold. And I just need to say thank you to you for embracing my mom and allowing me to care for her those years. You were my encouragement, and I love you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for all who shared. Just have a few closing thoughts. I do feel like we could move on from here and be totally fed and encouraged and built up. And remembering Gigi, it is a grief. And it's good. It's right that we grieve. It's right that we gather around and support the family, grieve the loss of their mom and grandma and great-great-grandma. And it's also right that we celebrate a life well lived. Wow, my goodness, right? Am I the only one that hears all these stories and I'm blown away at who this lady was? And Amy and I had the privilege of knowing her since 2019. And I, the recollection of who I knew her to be, like, resound with all these stories, but just to hear it were just amazing. And so we celebrate her life. We take comfort in knowing that she's in her eternal home. She was always full of life and full of vibrancy. And I was amazed at her desire to engage in conversation with you, even though it's like, I mean, how loud do you have to talk in someone's ear for them to hear what you're saying? But that never hindered her from wanting to engage you. And that was an incredible encouragement. One of the things that I remember, just as I was preparing for this morning, several years ago, a year or two ago, Sandy had our family over for a meal, and you don't ever say no to when Miss Sandy has you over for the meal, because it will be among the top that you've ever had. And so we were there eating, having a good time, and enjoying the meal, and afterwards, Gigi was sitting there with our 5 kids, telling them stories of the Alaska frontier, and they were, hanging on every word that she said. And then as we were leaving, she wanted our kids to teach her the DAP handshake, which I had to ask my kids what it was called, which is like the shake and then the thing, and then you snap your fingers when you leave. And she was going to try that. She tried her darndest to get that handshake, and she probably did it with her grandkids as well. But I don't know, why does a 90-year-old want to even learn a handshake of a teenager, except that it told me who she is, and it was so cool. And so just to know that she's now, like Sandy just said, in heaven, celebrating, and she can hear good. Gigi gave to our daughter who went to Germany to do a missions trip over there, and that blessed me. It was funny just in thinking of a few other things. So a couple of weeks ago, Tim called me and told me Gigi went to be with the Lord, and so I went over to be with the family, and we were there in the room. Joe was there, and the hospice nurse came, and just doing the things that normally you do. And just as I was getting ready to walk out the door, Gigi's laying there, and I wanted to say, Gigi, see ya. Looking forward to seeing you in heaven. But I got down to her face, and I said it really loud just because I think I was in this habit of anytime you talk to Gigi, you got to get right there in her ear and talk really loud, and I had to kind of chuckle about that. But she was a woman of tremendous prayer, and her prayer life and hope was motivated out of a deep love that she had for people, and the great faith that she had in Jesus Christ, and her desire that all those who she came in contact with would have that same hope and love and put their trust in the Lord. Gigi's life verse was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and most of us know it. It's a verse that if we're not careful, it just kind of becomes cliche, but it is a promise of the Lord that she held on to. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. The trust Gigi displayed in the Lord led her and Mr. Joe, a man I'd never met, to remote central Alaska in the summer of 1956. And that trust remained in the lady that I saw and that I knew in her late 80s and early 90s. And she spent countless hours praying for many of us. She was vigorous. As was mentioned, she worked in the medical system in rural Alaska, probably on paper not equipped for the patients that she cared for, but she cared for them because she was smart, sharp as a tack, and she was just going to figure out a way to care for people. And today I was just encouraged to hear the stories of how she impacted lives of us here. And now she's with the Lord, right? And death is final. But for all of us who know Jesus, death is actually gain. And so we celebrate that this morning. We were created to have an eternal relationship with Jesus Christ. And that relationship is not just about coming, saying a prayer, and then kind of going on like nothing happened. It's about trusting in him for forgiveness of our sins and our inadequacies, and truly living for him and knowing him. And so today, as we honor Gigi's time on earth, and today won't be the last day we remember her and honor her legacy. She's legendary. There's not everybody who dies who's legendary. I get the feeling that she's one of those. But I'm just reminded of her persistent prayer. And Sandy told us a story that she said here about the list of people that she prayed for. Her heart remains that all who are here this morning would know, trust, and love Jesus, and would trust in him for the forgiveness of their sins, and to bring them into right standing before the Lord. She interceded for this. She interceded that we would know the Lord. And we don't know the number of our days. None of us do. Today's a gift. And we don't know what tomorrow holds. But death should cause us, if nothing else, to stop and to consider our own heart. Scripture says that today is the day of salvation. And if you're here this morning and you're not at right standing with the Lord, let today be the day that you put your faith in Jesus and be in right standing with God. None of us are good enough. Like we all sin and fall short. We are incapable of meeting the standard of holiness that is needed to be at right standing. And in fact, like all the things that we ever do, like the good things we try to do are inadequate, but all that is made adequate. We are made adequate through Jesus Christ. Jesus was talking to a man named Nicodemus who was hiding. They did it in the middle of the night because he was afraid that the religious leaders would catch him talking to this man. And Jesus said, we all know, a lot of us know this scripture in John 3:16, that Jesus said, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and that is Jesus, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son. He didn't send Jesus into the world to condemn the world and curse us to hell. He sent his Son Jesus into the world to save us, and that through Jesus Christ, and that through him the world might be saved. Believing in the death and the resurrection of Jesus Christ is what will bring us into right standing with the Lord. It's a free gift. And like it cost Gigi everything, they moved to Alaska. It will cost us everything, but it gives life. I mean, who wouldn't want the life that I heard that she lived? Maybe you don't want to move to Alaska, but she had life and vigor and vitality. So if anybody's here this morning and you're like, I need to make some things right with the Lord, I just encourage you to come talk to me, or and we would love to just pray with you. And I know that would be Gigi's parting moment or parting prayer and desire, is that we would all walk with the Lord. Whether you're blood or not. I'm not blood, not physical blood. Spiritually we are. But her desire is that we would all know the Lord. Paul wrote this in 1 Thessalonians. He said, but I do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who have fallen asleep or those who have died, lest you sorrow as others who have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so God will bring with him those who sleep in Jesus. And for this we say to you by the word of the Lord, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord will by no means precede those who are asleep. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of an archangel, and with the trumpet of God, and the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and thus we shall always be with the Lord. And then he goes on to say, therefore comfort one another with these words. And so thus we, all of us who are at right standing, will be with the Lord. We'll be with Grandpa Joe. We'll be with Gigi. We'll be with my mother-in-law. We'll be with my Uncle John. We'll be with Hazel. And countless others. I question ever if I should mention names like that, because I'm sure there's plenty of people that in my mind I should know better and say their names as well. But if people knew the Lord, if they knew the Lord, then we will see them again. And so please, before this day ends, if you're not right with the Lord, get right with the Lord. And now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no more sea. Then I, John, this is the same John who wrote the scripture that I just read earlier in John 3:16. Then I, John, saw the holy city, a new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. God himself will be with them and be their God. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. And so, Lord, we celebrate Gigi. We don't grieve and mourn as those who have no hope. We celebrate that she's with you, free, and that she transitioned from life here on earth to her eternal home in glory. And so we thank you for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
guys can stand and sing How Great Thou Art. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the works thy hand hath made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. And when I think that God his Son not sparing sent him to die, I scarce can take it in, that on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Sing that again. When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. One last time. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
With us today, at this time, the service will come to an end. Or hopefully everyone can join us with the meal right across the parking lot. I know if you've got to rush and get to work, just hurry up over there and get in line first before all the rest of us. But thanks again for being here. And I'm going to bless the meal and just say a word of benediction. And so, Lord, thank you. You are great. And our soul sings how great you are. And so we're thankful for that. And we thank you for Peg, for Gigi, and for the life that she lived, and that she, though she dies, yet lives. And that she gained, Lord, when she went to be with you the night before Thanksgiving a couple of weeks ago. And so we bless her. We bless the memory of her, and Dan and Joe and Sandy and the grandkids and the spouses. We bless them, Lord. Pray that you would be near to them in this time. We thank you for the food that's prepared, and pray that you bless the hands that provided it, supplied it, sanctify it, help to nourish and strengthen our bodies and the fellowship. I pray that this time that we have over there would bring a sense of closure in a healthy way for the family and all of us who are grieving her loss. And so thank you for being here with us. And now may the Lord bless each of you and keep you and cause his face to shine on you today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. God bless you. Thanks again for being here.